Cannabis Control Commission to order at 10:05 a.m. on December 17th, 2018. Can I ask, can everybody in the back, all five of you, can you hear me? Great. Can I ask anybody recording this meeting? Let me put the public on notice this meeting is being recorded. I'd like everybody to please put their cell phones on mute or to shut them off entirely, please. Includes the commission. Sorry.
I think you're the only one that's ever violated
I think my phone's the only one, yes, I have to plead guilty to that. Thanks for coming. This is, I think, going to be a relatively short, straightforward meeting. We have one agenda item that was on the agenda, which is to discuss the lease for our permanent headquarters. We actually have one additional item of business that I did not anticipate at the time of posting, which is about our reports to the legislature with respect to agriculture. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about our next meeting dates. Before I turn it over to the Executive Director, just one announcement that our social equity program is going to get kick-started this week in terms of accepting applications as of, if I'm correct, Wednesday. Is that correct? Is there any other detail, Mr. Executive Director, you want to add to that?
Sure. I think the
we don't have enough microphones here. Can everybody hear Sean?
pretty small audience. So.
I think it's just appropriate to ask.
So yes, the intention is to launch the application through our portal. So the Mass CIP site is really to begin to accept applications for any track. The idea at this point is as we're still building out a lot of the specific details relative to the tracks themselves, as well as which vendor will be responsible for which portion of that. The idea is to start getting applications in the door and see what that universe looks like, and then also being mindful of the fact that that the budget for the program lives through the fiscal year. So the idea is to get that money active and begin using it as it's intended. This is a really critical first step, but there's a lot of other details that still need to be finished and finalized, but I think there's sufficient momentum to get us at least launched as far as the application is concerned, and hopefully as future meetings come along, we'll be sharing even more details about those specific plans.
Thank you, and my thanks to Shakia Scott, who is not here today, but for her role in pushing this forward.
So can I just ask a question?
Yes, sure.
So the application will be available on the website, and do we have a sense of what the process is going to look like for receiving applications, how long it's going to take to kind of review things, what that process is going to look like?
Specifically, I can't say how long it's going to take us to review it. It's a 9-step application. 3 of those steps include the criteria for eligibility, which, just as a reminder, are reside in an area of disproportionate impact for at least 5 of the past 10 years, with a current income not exceeding 400% of the federal poverty level. That's 1, having a past drug conviction and a resident of Massachusetts for at least the preceding 12 months, or have been married to or the child of a person with a drug conviction and a resident of Massachusetts for the last 12 months. So capturing that information is as far as determining eligibility, and also looking at the disclosure from an applicant standpoint as to which track they feel best suited for and most interested in. And then Shakia, and I think this one I think we're looking at, it's not a licensing piece per se, but I think that it's in our licensing portal, so making sure we have sufficient resources to evaluate those applications and then start to build out those cohorts for each different track. The intent is to really treat it like a kickoff, bearing in mind that we have a lot to learn about the program as well as we develop it, and holding ourselves responsible from a metric standpoint as far as how we're going to evaluate it. So I can't say it will take us 15 minutes, 20 minutes to review an application. I think it will take as much time as necessary, but I think we have a process as far as who will manage those applications, and really Shakia and her team, or Shakia and I think a variety of folks in the commission will be devoted to evaluating those applications.
So at the next meeting, can we get an update on the applications and kind of applications?
Any other questions? Okay, the first agenda item then is to ask the Executive Director to make a recommendation with respect to lease for our headquarters. Last Thursday, we authorized the Executive Director to finalize the lease for our satellite office at 50 Franklin Street in Boston, and I think we'll go through the same process today. So, Mr. Executive Director.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as you indicated at the last meeting on Thursday, which was not too long ago, we discussed the satellite office in Boston, or the Metro Boston area. That location is 50 Franklin Street. We hear today about the commission's headquarters, which, as you'll recall, the search area for that procurement was the city of Worcester. We did receive a number of responses after that evaluation. We were authorized as staff to begin negotiations with the city of Worcester through their Worcester Redevelopment Authority, and the location is Union Station in the heart of Worcester. We've been in pretty ongoing discussions with, again, the Union Station itself is owned by the city through the redevelopment authorities. We've been discussing and negotiating with them through DCAM. Has been a valuable partner in this exercise. We're pleased to say we've come to an agreement because Worcester Redevelopment Authority is also a public body, not unlike the commission. They voted to approve this lease at their meeting on Friday. It was unanimous vote. So some of those details include the actual space, which comprises 14,381 total square feet.
I'm sorry, say that again?
14,381 square feet. With Union Station itself being a transportation hub, it is obviously convenient for public access. It is an active train station as well as serving for regional buses and regional or major highways, therefore being close by. There's also parking attached to the building in the garage. The commission will be designated 15 spaces in that location. The schematic design overall includes 25 offices, 53 workstations, and 3 conference rooms. One of those conference rooms is a sizable space which can be subdivided into 3 separate rooms. So we have a lot of space. Also, similar to the Gaming Commission for public meetings to accommodate that. That counts as one big conference room.
It'd be nice not to have to be beggars anymore in terms of finding places to have our public meetings.
I think we're able to achieve that with this procurement. We also have various space to accommodate staff needs, including breakout rooms or interview rooms as well. The lease is for 10 years. The total cost for the first year is $439,200, or approximately $36,000 per month. The average monthly cost over those 10 years will be about $38,902. That breaks down to just over $30 per square foot. For a timeline, because this is a public agency, this is a project that will be put out to bid. It's also a sizable space. The space itself is not, it's really 2 separate spaces. One is across the hall. There's kind of a horseshoe shape around the, just above the rotunda in Union Station. They're estimating approximately 40 to 44 weeks. However, I think this is a conservative time frame that we're able to, I think, shave some time off. I know Worcester is motivated to get this done as well, so the sooner we occupy, the better. That said, because of that time frame, we do have to plan for some sort of contingency in the event that it's not ready when our temporary space is no longer available to us. We have reached out to that, to our landlord now to see if there's a possibility to extend. That's something that's an ongoing discussion, but I'm also confident that DCAM will work with us.
And the Franklin Street facility should be done.
That's my expectation.
Correct time.
So based on that, it is possible or certainly likely that we'll be in Union Station sometime, probably mid-2019.
Before we ask for a motion, are there questions or comments for the executive director?
I just want to say thank you to you and to Adriana Campos for, and again, to our legal team for doing the lease and getting this together. I know that it was a lot of work and it's greatly appreciated. It's a great, my knowledge of Union Station from being in Worcester and being knowledgeable of that area is it's like such a great location. It's beautiful and it's really convenient and central. So I think it's going to be a great fit.
And it's cheaper than being in Boston. Other questions or comments? You want to talk about Worcester?
I can talk about Worcester all day long. No, I mean, I want to thank the staff. I think it's good for the Commonwealth. I think it's good. People will have access to us. Our investigators will be able to maneuver around the state fairly easily, coming in and out of the offices they need to. And I know that Worcester's motivated to get this done as well, really to have that space. And I think it's going to be a great addition to that part of town, which Worcester has put a lot of energy into improving. So.
I think it's great space as well. I appreciate the effort of Sean and the rest of the team. And I want to thank DCAM for their help in getting this done. So I think it's going to be a great space. I'm hoping it gets done in time so we don't end up having to cram ourselves into 50 Franklin Street. But I think this is going to be a great long-term solution for the agency. So thank you.
Just one more comment,
yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Chairman. I just want to thank the city of Worcester. This is the first time a state agency is actually moving its headquarters out of Boston, to my knowledge, and that's kind of a
Really?
big feat. So, I appreciate the work that they've done to help us get to this point.
Should we thank the Pawtucket Red Sox for moving to Worcester as well?
We got there first. Mr.
I know,
Chairman.
that's.
And we will be there first.
So, the motion we need is for authorize the executive director to finalize the lease for the Union Station.
Yes.
Anything else that you need from the commission? Then can I ask for a motion, please, to authorize the executive director to finalize this lease?
So moved.
Yes. Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the commission unanimously approved authorizing the executive director to finalize the lease with Union Station. Thank you very much. And do you have a sense of how long it will take to actually execute the finalized lease?
Should be done this week.
Great, fantastic, thank you. As I mentioned, there was one agenda item that I was not aware of when I put the agenda for this meeting together, and that is an update to our agricultural report to the legislature. As you might recall, we had a deadline of 1 year from the creation of the act, which is I think July 28th, to report to the legislature on our efforts to help farmers participate in the marijuana industry. In the legislation, there's a requirement that we update that report no later than December 31st of this year to tell essentially the legislature what progress we have made on that report. We are working on that update. I think that it is necessary to have a vote on the commission to authorize the executive director and the staff to update that report and submit it to the legislature. Obviously, the intent would be that once the draft is done by the staff, that it will be circulated to the commissioners for feedback. But I do think it's appropriate that we take a vote and authorize the executive director and the staff to update and submit that report subject to input from the commission. So, is there anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Executive Director?
Not at this time.
Any questions?
Okay, just have a clarification. Essentially, it's agriculture and small business.
And small business, sorry about that. Thank you very much for that clarification. Given that
Okay.
clarification, how would you like to make a motion to authorize the executive director?
Love to.
Well, then would you?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the recommendation, motion to authorize the executive director to update and submit this report. I believe that is it. We have 2 meetings scheduled in January, both TBD with respect to location and time. The date is not TBD, but the location and the time is TBD. First would be January 10th, and the second would be January 21st, or 24th, excuse me. We'll obviously update the public as soon as we have a location secured for these 2 dates. That being said, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I want to just wish everybody a happy holiday season. It's been I think, very productive and exciting 2018. I expect that 2019 is going to be even more productive and more exciting.
How is it possible?
But thank you, particularly those of you that have come to all of our meetings. Looks like you now have you now are winning the attendance race, since you're the only one that's here today. But anyway. Anyway, happy holidays to everybody, and best wishes for a very healthy and successful 2019. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned as of